Good evening, everybody in Jacksonville. Say hello. Thank you very much. This is a Compass MS Care educational program provided by MS Views and News, and we do these Compass MS Care programs around the country every month of the year. Sometimes we add in a couple of extras just because there are regions out there that just need the educational programs that we are able to bring to them. We have Jeff Segal speaking, and Jeff Segal is a MS exercise specialist. He's been doing this for us for years. Tonight's program, just to let you all know, we are supported by Bristol Myers Squibb, Genentech, Sandoz, and TG Therapeutics. Let's let them know that we appreciate them. Thank you. Exhibiting here tonight, we had Alexion. We had Bristol Myers Squibb, Novartis, Sandoz, Octave. You'll get to hear a little bit about Octave later on. TG Therapeutics and Viatris. So let's let them know also that we appreciate them being here. Thank you. Let's welcome up Jeff Segal. Jeff Segal.
Thanks, Stuart. Hello, Jacksonville. How many of you guys were here last time I spoke here? Oh, okay, so you guys are going to learn something new. So am I. I'm going to learn something about every one of you. Okay, maybe not you in the back. I love speaking to groups of people that are here to actually learn something. I like reading research. That's rare, right? Not too many people say it, but I do. I like reading research more so than books these days, because when I read a book, I feel guilty that I'm not reading the research. And there's some really, really, really bad research out there. So you got to really be careful, because before the bad stuff gets to TikTok and all that stuff that's incorrect, there's the bad research. And a research study, for it to be called a research study, that's all it needs to be. It could be a failed study by third graders, but somebody could say, but research says, and that's something you hear all the time, right? You hear research says this or research says that. Who's this research guy? I don't like to speak away from facts. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's anecdotal when it comes to treatment with MS, from individual to individual. Each person's different. Each person's treated different. Each person is going to respond different. The same thing goes to exercise. One thing that's unique and we all share is the ability to do a few things. One is breathe. I want everybody in the room to take a deep breath with your diaphragm, please, not with your ribs, because then you won't get much of a deep breath. Now what I want you to do, since I see a lot of you slouching, I want you to open up your chest and now take a deep breath, and you'll get almost twice the amount of air. These are the things that if you do while you're exercising and while you're not exercising, you'll have more oxygen readily available in your body. Pretty simple, right? Not to mention if you're drinking enough water. How many people here are drinking water? I know, I see a lot of hands. I know the rest have iced tea. This is the South, right? I mean, I don't think they offer anything else but water or iced tea, right? Bourbon. That doesn't count towards your fluid intake. So breathing, drinking water, and one thing that slips past a lot of people. How many people in here got a really good night's sleep last night? What do you call a good night's sleep? One when you go to sleep and wake up, right? For me, it's anything after more than 5 or 6 hours. I wish I could sleep a little longer than that, but I just can't. There's always somebody waking me up. No, it's just my clock. It's in my head. I've talked to doctors about it, and I say, how can I sleep more? And they said, well, maybe you don't need to sleep more. So I'm recovering from things pretty quick. I don't get sick often, and I take care of myself because I'm an MS patient. I was told once I'd never walk again. I was told a lot of things. I was also told I was short and fat, which I was. At one point in my life, I was short. Another time, I was fat. But now I'm just Jeff with MS. And I train others with MS. I train people who don't have MS. I train people that need to exercise and don't know how to properly do it and need assistance. And that leaves most people into that category, because unless you really study exercise and study what it can do for you or how it can harm you, you can hurt yourself exercising because you just don't know the right things, or you're doing what you were taught that was incorrect at one point. There's a lot of people that have medial collateral ligaments that are bad in their knees just because for decades we were stretching incorrectly. Which stretching is really important for this group because we have MS and spasticity. Stretching really does help spasticity. The more flexible you are and the more available that flexibility is and the range of motion is in function, it might reduce that spasticity that a lot of people deal with. How many people here have spasticity? All right, it's only like 13 or 15, maybe 19. I don't know. But everybody's experienced it sometime, even muscle cramping, that sort of stuff. Now, if you drink enough water, you can tame that. But if it's something that, and another thing about water, purified water is like drinking non-alcoholic beer. Why do people do it? I mean, either you drink beer, you don't drink beer, but purified water's taken all the electrolytes out of it. Not all of them, but a lot. I mean, it's pure. It's just H2O. It doesn't have the minerals that you need. And the minerals are important. You always hear people say, "Oh, you need more potassium because you got cramps." Well, that might be it. That's one of the electrolytes. But they're all important. So you get the sleep, the drinking, water, hopefully, or sports drinks. And, so to me, I've had a lot of people who've had, that I've worked with who had bladder issues. How many people in here have issues with their bladder? So one thing theoretically that may help when you're exercising is to put a little bit of a glucose solution into the drink, like a little bit of fruit juice. Make it like 1/10 fruit juice, the rest water. So that might slow down because the fructose might slow down the gastric emptying and it might last longer. Get a little time release on the water. Not too many people have to go to the bathroom as often as you think when you exercise because you shunt your blood away from your organs and your digestive system is kind of stopped. That's why you don't see people exercising and eating. It doesn't work out too well. Or you can cramp up. Although I've never got a cramp from eating too much and exercising. You remember growing up, don't go in the pool after you eat something, you'll get a cramp. Well, that's not really the case. And if it is, guess what? I don't know how many people in here have never been in a pool, but if you've never been in a pool and you can't swim, you know what the best thing to do if you fall in the pool? Just go to the bottom and jump. Because the bottom's not going to be more than 8 feet in most pools. So you get about 2 feet more to get, you push a little bit, you don't weigh anything, and you get up to the top of the water. You know what you don't do? The same thing you don't do if you fall down. How many people in here can get off the floor if you fell on the floor? How many people can't? Are you sure? Because I've had a lot of people tell me they can't get up off the ground, and I'll sit with them until they can. And if I think that they can, I would never ask somebody to do something that I didn't believe they can do because I'm not setting people up for failure when I'm working with them. Exercise is important because it's going to help you succeed in things outside of exercise. It helps when you get into your regular daily life and you're doing stuff. And for all those people that say, oh, my job is really intense and I get a lot of exercise out of my job, that doesn't do it. You need to do a higher intensity workout so you can do better at your job. But there's recent research that suggests that people that do get their exercise from labor, they may get the negative benefits. They may get negative consequences from it. They may have more heart problems. And it's understandable if you read into the research. That's one of those things that I read. It came out of Medscape a few days ago, it was released, and I said, this is not going to be what you think it is. And what it comes down to is when you're working and you're doing high intensity stuff and it's stressful and you're releasing cortisol and you're doing all this stuff and you're worried, that's not what exercise is all about. Exercise is to get away from that. We exercise so we can do more, we can feel better, and we can enjoy being with the people we want to be with. Does that make sense? So I can tell you that every single person here probably doesn't exercise, not everyone. And the ones who don't, you probably share similar reasons why you don't. But some of those reasons might not really be something that should stop you from exercising. The best two reasons to not exercise is A, your doctor said if you exercise, you're going to die. We don't want to die, right? That's not the goal here. The other reason is you don't know how to do it correctly and you're afraid that you're going to hurt yourself. And that's where the importance comes in. How many people in here cannot do a squat? Out of the people that can't do a squat, hold your hands up. Can you stand out of the chair? Okay, can I see any of you that raised your hand stand out of a chair? You can use your hands. You can use your hands. Okay, so if you can't squat, but you can get out of a chair, my best advice to you, if you want to, you can sit back down. My best advice to you, if you want to use the squat as an exercise of your choice, then instead of thinking of it as a squat, if you can still sit down, because I watched her sit down without using her hands. So eccentrically, you're gonna use more muscle fibers. You're gonna engage more by doing an eccentric movement. This is eccentric, the downward motion. So if you just slowly went into a squat, helped yourself up, slowly went into a squat, helped yourself up, you'd build muscle. And if you were able to hold on to something, if you need to use your hands, you wouldn't want to hold on to something, but you can use a weighted vest or something like that, but you always progress. You always want to do a little bit more. So if somebody has no goals, how do you measure their success? Anyone? Does anybody in here not have goals? Because if you don't have a goal, how are you going to succeed? When it comes to exercise, my goal for the people that I work with is that first they show up, right? Then they've succeeded already. Once you show up, you're there. That's what keeps people from working out at gyms. It's taking that first step into the gym. And if everybody went to the gym that was a member of a gym, the gym would get shut down by the fire department. So that's why the majority of the people that have memberships don't use the gyms. The gyms make money, but everybody wants to have that card. I've got a membership, just in case they use it. So anybody in here that can stand up out of a chair, you should do it more. If you're sitting too long, you're going to be stiff. You're going to be tight. You see people doing shuffle walk where they can't take long steps? That's from sitting too long, for the most part. Tight hip flexors. You sit your whole life, you're going to be stuck in this position. So when you stand up, you're going to be getting a tug on your back. You're losing the fight with gravity. That's why I said when everyone take a deep breath, open up your chest and take a deep breath. Now, if you can stand up, please, if you feel comfortable standing. I want people to stand up. Come on, I'm talking about exercise. If you guys don't want to stand up, how are you going to exercise? Okay, now if you can raise your hand. Now raise the other hand. I didn't say Simon Says. All right, so now you guys can sit down. So you guys just did a little bit more than you would have had I not said to do that. So you burned a couple calories, 2 calories. How many people in here are worried about calories? Don't worry about calories as much as you worry about them, unless you eat too many of them. That's what it comes down to, eating too many calories or not doing enough movement. You will never catch up to your calories by moving. That will not happen unless you're a daily marathon runner. I've worked with people and given them the hardest workout that you would be sweating watching. And maybe they might burn 500 or 600 calories. Was that a half a sandwich? But if you do stuff all day and you have an exercise regimen and your muscles are growing, your muscles will burn calories for you. Your metabolic rate will be better than it was, and you will burn from just living. That's what, you're not gonna, you're sitting here burning calories right now. You're sitting, do you know what form of energy you're using right now? What energy system? You're working aerobically right now. So you're doing aerobics while you're sitting there doing nothing. No, but that's really what you're using because it's in the presence of oxygen. Now, when people do let's say somebody was going to do push-ups to failure or squats to failure, and they did 10 of them, and at 10 they could barely get up to the top. Now, I used to hear this from people that I work with because they don't know. And they get done with the exercise, they're out of breath. Wow, that was great, or that was so aerobic. Because actually it was not aerobic, that's why you're out of breath, because large muscles need lots of oxygen. So the muscle goes to the oxygen goes to the muscle. When you're breathing heavy, that's the only way you're going to get enough when you're using these large muscles. And that's what aerobic activity is, large muscle groups being used over a long period of time, and it's for the heart. That's heart health. That's a muscle. It's important to have a strong heart and a healthy heart, because when that stops ticking, you're in trouble. You won't know it, but everyone around you will know it. Anybody ever you can feel your heartbeat? See, I've never asked someone, was there ever a time you couldn't feel it? Did it stop? You can't answer that question, but that's why you should exercise. Exercise has so many benefits that people overlook. Between the stuff I was saying, sleep. You exercise, you burn your calories, you burn energy. At the end of the day, you can get a better night's sleep. Other things that exercise do, they help you with your function. They help you do the things that you like to do better and not have to have as much help. Or how many people in here have a care partner? How many people in here exercise or is in better shape than their care partner? You know what that means? That means you're now the care partner. You're the one that has to take care of them. But everyone should exercise more than they do, for the most part. And it's got to be fun. You know, you got to find something that's worth it to you. That's why you have goals. And the goals that I like, they have to be realistic too. You can't say, okay, I want to start exercising and run a marathon on Wednesday. It's not going to happen. You'll get to like mile 3 looking like this. It won't work. Or someone else will be dragging you. You have to work your way up to it. Does anybody want to come up here and experience something that might be fun? I got all kinds of cool stuff here. So I'm not going to use everything that I brought, but if you come up here, I'll pick something for you to use. All right. And now the only thing is if you do come up here, you have to agree to be on film. So when you come up here, it's up to you to say it or not. If you don't say it, then we're just going to be standing here. Okay. That way, you okay? You agree to be filmed up here? Okay. So are you an MS patient? No. Are you with someone that has MS?
No.
Are you with someone that has something like MS?
Yes.
Okay. What is it that they have?
I don't know exactly what it is that they have, but I know like tingling or something.
You ever have balance problems or stuff like stability? Okay. So I'm going to let you know what it's like to feel like them. How's your balance?
Good.
Okay, when you stand on one leg. Okay, try again. Try again. Okay, try again. Okay, now let me see something. Turn it this way. Now try it. No, try it. Let's see how long you can do it now.
Oh.
Stand on one leg.
Same leg?
Yeah, same leg. A little better. Try it again. Ah, there you go. Okay, so all I did was have her practice. That's important because if you don't practice something and you think you're going to try something, it's going to be hard. Now what I want you to do is bring both your feet and touch each other. Let them touch each other. Okay, now just stand there. Do you feel a little unsteady?
No.
Does anybody see her swaying? Close your eyes. Do you feel unsteady? You should. It's normal to, because not too many people has to stand with their feet together and close their eyes, especially in front of a room full of people. Okay, now try it on one leg. Actually, it's not going to be much better. Try this. Look up. Now close your eyes. You see her rocking? Any of you ever feel like that on a normal day, like when that's like your normal way of standing? Yeah, I guarantee there's a few people here who are like that. So that's something, that's ataxia, and that's something that people experience who have neurological issues. And that's uncomfortable. You can go sit back down. When I found out you weren't a patient now, I just wanted to know what it felt like to be a patient. And how many of you have still not gotten past the diagnostic part when the doctor says, you have multiple sclerosis? How many have not got past that? Be honest. It's a difficult thing to get past. I mean, I know people that they're in year 10 and they're like, I'm telling you, it's not MS, it's something else. I know they're going to fix this. I'm going to go to a different doctor. Go to all the doctors you want in the world. You waste your time. Enjoy your life. That's why I do what I do, because when you exercise, you can do more. And how many people in here think that I'm an angry person and I don't enjoy what I do for a living? So just because I look like I'm enjoying it doesn't mean that that you're not going to. But how many people in here skipped phys ed in school? Okay, so we all took phys ed. This is great because we all went to school before they took it out of school, right? That was great. I mean, I don't know how that happened, but it did, and we're where we are. I'm asking you guys a lot of questions. Now, I see a lot of faces in here, and I see a lot of people that look like, oh my gosh, don't pick me. Please don't pick me. I won't. I'm not here to embarrass anybody, except for you in the back. No, that was Stuart. Cardiovascular exercise will make your heart stronger. Your heart's a muscle. That's aerobic exercise, 20 minutes, cardiovascular, 20 to 30 minutes. That's how you get stronger heart muscle. And you also get better oxygen consumption. And oxygen consumption is important because if you can't get oxygen to the muscles and stuff that are needing them, then they're not going to work. It also makes you think more clearly. Some people who don't have MS and who have MS and other things, they go to the gym and that's when they're on their bikes and doing their aerobic activity. That's when they free their mind and that's when they come up with the best ideas that solve a lot of problems that they couldn't solve otherwise. Now, the other thing is flexibility is another part of exercise. It's really, really important because like what I was saying with spasticity. How many people in here stretch daily? Come on, even when you wake up in the morning? Well, stretching is important. Now, from my side of things, I like doing stretching, the stretches that people can get themselves into in addition to passive stretches. An active stretch is something that you're doing to increase your flexibility in a full range of motion. So if I was to do a squat and come all the way down to here, I'm stretching all the muscles that were eccentrically working in the negative side. I can tell you them all, but that would bore you. If I do a bench press, when I come down, I'm stretching my chest. When I come up, I'm stretching my back. A lat pull down, when I come down, I'm stretching my upper shoulders, and when I go back up, I'm stretching my sides. So flexibility and exercise go hand in hand. And full range of motion, you know what full range of motion is? It's different for everybody. Everybody's range of motion is based on your biomechanics. So don't look at somebody else and say, oh gosh, I'm going to be able to do a split and lift my legs up off the ground because they're doing it. No, I can't even look at that. But static stretching doesn't always pan out into increased functional range of motion. A static stretch is when you're being pushed towards your foot or your foot's being pushed back when someone's stretching you. So what I like to do is have them move those muscles. You know, doing a lunge or a deadlift, as long as you have a strong back and it's safe, you can do those kinds of things. Push-ups are great. Squats. Who can't do a squat but can stand and sit out of a chair? I'm going to do a quick squat tutorial. But so someone's got to come up, please. Someone, come on. I see a bunch of people, every time I look at them, they do this. All right, so I'm not going to have anyone up here. All right, so I'm going to be the person. I don't know how to do a squat. A squat's based on you. So for some, this is a full squat. They can't go further than that until they start doing it. And the goals are vast. I mean, you can have a goal to go down further, to do heavier weight, to do more reps. Depends what your goals are overall. If it's for stamina, you change the goal. A squat's basically sitting into a chair, but not touching the chair. So when you squat, like I said, everyone's mechanics are a little bit different. You don't want to do this. No one could sit in a chair like that. But if you do this, that's a squat. I tapped the chair and came back up. And I've done that with a lot of weight on my back before. It wouldn't be as easy to talk when I'm doing that. But at the time, it served a purpose. Some people's knees come in when they stand. Anyone have that issue? When they stand, the knees come in. And some knees flare out. The reason for that is usually a weak internal rotator or weak external rotator. So there's exercises to help that. There's doing stuff with external rotation. There's doing, you can do stuff with push-ups that even helps that. Just standing in a spot like this, if I was standing here and externally rotated back and forth, that's practicing using external rotators on my planted leg, on this leg, the one that's on the ground. And that's helpful. Or you can do that by pulling something and stepping back. There's so many different things you can do with external rotation. And then internal rotation is just a pivot inward, this way. So that would combat the person that's knees flare out versus this would help someone whose knees buckle. And another thing that you can do a bouncy ball. A lot you can do with this. One thing for squats is if your knees do flare out, you may want to hold it between your knees, up. And if that wasn't the case, now with stores, they have these everywhere. I think you can get these at a gas station. No, but they have them in all sorts of places. I never thought would have exercise equipment. I love Five Below. Anyone here ever been to Five Below? I like their medicine balls because they're soft. Medicine balls are great, but if they're too hard and you drop them, you hurt yourself. So if your knees are ones that come inward, you can put something like this or a band around your legs and stand and sit like that. And that's doing squats. You can do the same thing with your arms. I like having, and one of the issues with flexibility, going back to the flexibility, is when I looked around the room at everybody raising their hands, I noticed that some people's hands were in front of them like this because they couldn't get, I'm assuming they couldn't get their arm all the way up here. One of the easiest ways to work on increasing range of motion is walking up the wall. Just, if you have something like this, to do it like this. Or if you have a ball you can roll it up. So if you were to roll it up the wall like that and bring it down. And the goal is to go a little bit more than you did the last time. That's the goal with exercise. You know, if it's a distance you're walking, running, biking, try to go a little further the next time. Doesn't have to be a lot, as long as you progressively work yourself a little bit more, and a little bit more. Or if it's weights, doesn't have to be more weight. It could be slower the next time, slower movements, or it can be more weight, or it could be more reps. It depends on the goal. It depends why you're doing what you're doing. I want somebody to raise their hand because I'm not getting a lot of participants here. And you guys are missing out on some really fun stuff. I'm going to show you an example of something else that's called an agility ladder. How many people in here know what an agility ladder is? I couldn't see. Raise your hand if you ever see these. You know what these did? These replaced what we used to use as children practicing football. They replaced the tires. Do you know what the tires replaced? Our ankles. So I like having people walk in a ladder like this, even if it's just here, just to, in case you're drinking and driving, of course. No, but it helps with your stability and your ability to ambulate. Sidestep through it. A lot of people, once their stepping is long enough, I'll have them skip a step. So that means they have to put a little bit more of a stretch on their hip flexors. I have some people jumping in it, some people skipping in and out of it. I have some people that are walking with a cane, and they just have to have their foot in each spot. And for some it's very difficult at first, and then you neurologically adapt. Neurologically adapt. That's something that's really, really, really important. Your neurological systems are very, very, very active, always. They're working all day long. They're making, sometimes they don't work right, but they're still working. And neurologically adapting to a movement is the difference between doing a squat like that and doing something smooth. That's what you call muscle memory. It's neurological adaptations that you keep in your mind and your brain remembers them and stores them. You do something a couple times, you're like, got it, now this is working. Whether it be dribbling a basketball, whether it be writing with a pen. You know, if you don't write for a long time, a really long time, it's weird to write again. With computers, that kind of stuff does happen. Some other things in exercise that I think are really, really important are knowing your limits. If exercise, now I'll tell you this, I'm not swearing by it because I'm sure there's cases of it happening, but exercise, for the most part, is not likely to cause you to have an exacerbation. It may cause a pseudo-exacerbation if you overdo it, But by overdoing it, that means that you went above and beyond what you should have done. And that's what we need to learn, is how much can we do and how long we can do it for. And if we know that number and that amount of time and the amount of exercise and all that stuff that we're doing, then we can add to it. And it's like a puzzle to me. There's little things that you add this, you add that. Before you know it, you can have someone doing a really complex exercise and they're really astonished that they can do it. And you tell them, wow, look where you were a couple of months ago. You couldn't do the first part of that. Now you're doing it and you want more. You're coming back for more. So it's fun. Exercise is great. If you have children, grandchildren, and you want to be part of their lives, life's about being a participant. We enjoy participating. Being a spectator is okay, but not all the time. You want to be a participant in something because that's how we come back with stories, and that's how we come back with the joy we have, and that's how we can talk to other people and say, hey, you know what? This did that for me, and I was able to do it, and damn it, I didn't think I was going to be able to do it, but I worked my tail off, and now I was able to play with my grandchildren. And I could keep up with them, and they couldn't keep up with me. So on that note, I'd like to thank everybody who's here. I'd like to open up for questions and hope to come back with some, when I come back, I'll have more equipment and I'll have some more participants, right? Now that you know how important it is to participate. So thank you guys very much. Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you, Jeff. Does anybody in the room have a question for Jeff? Thank you. I'll be there in a moment. In the meantime, could you answer a question that was online? Somebody wants to know what time of day is the best time to exercise.
The time you're most willing to do it. That is the truth. The most important time to exercise is when you'll do it, because if you are told to exercise at 4 p.m. and that's when you take your nap, that's the worst time of the day to exercise. The best time is when you're willing to do it and when you have the energy to do it. But most people know around the times that they have down times. If it's a regular thing, you know when not to do stuff. And when you're tired, you know what you're supposed to do? Rest. Unless it's because you're just hungover or something like that. You still got to rest.
On the standing on one leg at a time, I'm trying to do that, but I can only do it for seconds. If I hold on to something and stand on one leg for, say, to a count of 20, is that training my leg to do it?
It's training your leg to stand while holding something, which is okay, because if you can't stand without holding something, then you're going to just be
What's the best way to try to accomplish that?
This is really complex, but I'm gonna do this as fast as I can. First off, for me, stability is much more important than balance. Balance is standing on one leg, which you don't have to do. That's not something you need to do. If it's a goal you have and you want to be able to do it, the best way to do it is, you hold on to something, go away from holding on to something. I like standing wide, close, one leg, or you can do a staggered stance. But when you do stuff in motion like this, and then slowly slow down, you might be able to stand over time. So what's your reason for wanting to stand on one leg? Is it a goal just to see?
For stability. I have a big issue with balance. And I was at physical therapy, and that was one of the things they told me to do to help with the balance. And I'm having a very difficult time accomplishing that.
Okay, so when you're balancing, another thing that's very important is keeping your eyes on one thing. Don't move your eyes. You focus on one spot. That spot's not moving. So when you focus on that spot, rather than looking around, that'll help with your ability to stand on one leg. And you practice. You see, you just try to. Seconds are okay, because seconds become minutes eventually. And then when they become minutes, then you're not going to be standing on one leg anymore, because what's the point in standing on one leg for minutes? You're welcome.
Thank you. Anybody else in the room? Another online question was, what's the best temperature to go swimming in?
80 degrees.
Any questions?
The recommendations are 80 to 84 degrees for the general population, and for MS it's closer to 80. But when you're swimming, be careful, because you are losing a lot of heat. And you're not, your weight is reduced by a lot, so you're able to do a lot more in the water, but so you have to prepare for getting out of the water, and that's something people don't prepare for a lot. And when you get out of the water, all of a sudden and you can barely move. So slowly work your way into doing stuff in the water.
Great. Any other questions for Jeff? He's got a long ride home. All right. Thank you, Jeff, for being here.
Thank you guys again. This happens to be, this was close to where I went to college, which I went to college at Florida State, and I know there's going to be a lot of boos, but there should be a lot of cheers. And you know what? Get rid of that bowl system because they screwed us.
Great. Thank you, Jeff.